This is the book of Romans, chapter 15, verse 4. For whatsoever things were written aforetime were written for our learning, that we through patience and comfort of the scriptures might have hope. Shalom, shalom. Before I begin this lesson, all praise, honor, and glory goes to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Rakah Kodash. I want to give double honors to the apostles, bishop, and elders, a great millstone that rule well, and peace and blessings be multiplied on all you brethren out there preaching his word in all sincerity and truth. Shalom to the hopeful elect out there. This is the brother Dama Agabar with another lesson, Lord willing to edify and give you warning from Yahweh by Yahweh Shai. All right, and I started with Romans, the 15th chapter, as a reminder that, everything that was written in the scriptures is for our learning. And one of the main things that we have to keep in mind is that, a lot of the mighty and righteous acts of our ancient forefathers and few of our foremothers who stood righteously for the law, statutes, and commandments of Yahweh Shem Yahweh Shai, and who thought it better to die, righteously for the, for the Lord than to be overcome, than to sell out, than to bow down to the heathen, and to deny Yahweh Shem Yahweh Shai. You see, and one thing that our ancient forefathers understood was that it is better to die at the hands of the heathen than to fall into the hands of the Heavenly Father by you being rebellious and wicked and selling out and getting weak and not having faith in the power that the Lord, even though he can have you be put to death for righteousness, that's not going to be the end all be all of our story. They understood that if you died as a coward, if you died selling out, if you died, giving in to the demands of the heathen and forsaking the holy covenant and the law, statutes, and commandments, that, your judgment would still stand. The Lord would still punish you when you were, reincarnated, when you were brought back into your next life. So they understood that, that very well. And we have a lot of examples in the scriptures of how we should be, especially in these evil and dark times that we're coming into. All right. And we should have comfort and patience, from the ancient works of some of our ancient forefathers that were standing in the face of imminent death, that were standing, at the gallows. We have examples like Daniel in the lion's den, the three holy children. The Maccabee brothers and their mother, a lot of the apostles, they died brutal deaths, for this ministry and for this gospel and for their testimony in Yahweh Shem Yahweh Shai. So we have to mind ourselves with this very same like manner, because we're entering into times to where this devil was about to come down with this great wrath. And this was inspired by Elder Apostle Kabar video that I watched. And it says, this is what we should be talking about and preparing our minds for. It's ultimately the fact that we're about to, come to the hour of temptation to where Esau is going to cause a lot of us to be put to death for our testimony and faith in Yahweh Shem Yahweh Shai. And he's going into how this devil is about to bring, a lot of us are going to be beheaded. Like it tells you in the book of Revelation, the 20th chapter, which I'm going to get in a minute. We know that this devil is, he has a short time. He's about to come down with that great wrath. And as the apostle was explaining, the Lord's going to put that medieval, old school, devilish spirit on Esau, when that day comes, when he knows that he's out of time, when he knows that his time is short and martial law is kicking off. And he has these different troops out here. When he shuts down the city, when he comes and try to gather up all of the, the people that are on the red list, the terminate, the execute list, we're going to be, just like Yahweh Shai was grabbed up and brought before governors and rulers. Some of us are going to be faced with that same situation. So we have to prepare our minds and constantly, prepare ourselves that, we know that not each and every one of the members of the elect will be faced with this situation, but you never know if that's the lot that the Lord has prepared for you. But you have to prepare your mind and to have a full understanding that this is going to become a reality very soon. We know we're all going to be faced with the hour of temptation. We know that we're all going to be faced with taking that micro C hip, but we don't know if we're going to be the ones that are selected that's going to have to die as martyrs for Yahweh Shem Yahweh Shai, that's going to be grabbed up and made an example of and put on TV and grabbed up and, have your head put in the guillotine unless you deny your faith and trust in Yahweh Bashem Yahweh Shai and deny the Lord and bow down and accept this man's, his siragma. So we have to, prepare our minds that, these times are coming and it's going to be crazy as all hell. All hell is going to break loose out here in this society, and that we know that Esau is going to be going house to house. He's going to be doing searches. He's going to be, kicking in doors. And one of those doors just might be my door or your door or, any particular brother's door. And we have to have it in our mind and be prepared that, some of us are going to be faced with imminent death. Some of our test is to die as a martyr for Yahweh Bashem Yahweh Shai and have your head put in the guillotine or sat in front of a firing squad or tortured to death or whatever, scenario the Lord might has us to have to go through. But remember, even if the worst case scenario, you're put in one of those situations, but guess what? The Lord's not going to put anything on you that you cannot handle. So if it's your lot to be faced with the guillotine, guess what? You can overcome that. If you're put before a firing squad for your faith and testimony in Yahweh Bashem Yahweh Shai, guess what? You were built for that very same exact moment. And we know that some of us are going to be locked into prison. We're going to be tried. We're going to be tested. So we have to keep these things in mind and ultimately remember how our ancient forefathers went out when they were faced with particular situations, which I'm going to show you an example, and I'm going to close it. I don't want to make this too long, but brothers should definitely check out that video. It was very inspiring, and it was very, in the spirit, And this is the book of Revelations, chapter 20, verse 4. And I saw thrones, and they that sat upon them, and judgment was given unto them. And I saw the souls of them that were beheaded for the witness of Yahushua, and for the word of the Most High, and which had not worshipped the beast, neither his image, neither had received his mark upon their foreheads or in their hands, and they lived and reigned with Hamashiach 1,000 years. You see, and the point being that John the Revelator saw in these last days particular men of the Lord being beheaded for the testimony of Yahweh Bashem Yahweh Shai, and for this word, and for our laws, statutes, and our testimonies, and our belief and faith in Yahweh Bashem Yahweh Shai. You see? And this devil is going to try to convince us. He's going to try to manipulate you and coerce you with the fear of death to bow down and to worship his image, to worship the mark, and to take the mark. And to bow down to this devil and try to worship him as the Most High via this micro C hip. You see? But, this is where the elect are going to shine. This is where the elect are going to prosper. But we have to have it in our mind that these days are fastly approaching. And we have to be in the right mind frame and in the right spirit to understand that if we are put in these positions, not to faint, not to be fearful, because ultimately all Esau can do is just put you to death. Let me get that. Oh, shit. And this is Matthew 10 and 28. It says, and fear not them which kill the body, because that's all Esau can ultimately do. It's just put our head in the guillotine and chop our head off. We know that our spirit is going to go back up to the Heavenly Father, and our works, especially if we die as a martyr and in faith and in truth, our works are going to follow us, and we're going to be raised up first. You see, and that's all that Esau is going to have the ability to do, is to kill the body. All right, and scare you with the imminent threat of death, which we know that death is just a temporary transition. The elect are going to come back. The elect are going to be raised up first. So it's a win-win situation, but, still we have to prepare our minds that these days are coming and that some of us will be in this situation. It says, but are not able to kill the soul, because the soul is forever. The soul is immortal. And that soul, the Heavenly Father could easily just put that soul right back into another body, which he is going to do. And we're going to be, that righteous martyr soul is going to be put back in a extraterrestrial body, man. A body that's going to live for, an immortal body, a perfect body, a super upgraded body, man. You see? It says, but rather fear him which is able to destroy both soul and body in hell, which is, the Heavenly Father, Yahweh. That's who we should fear. And that's why we shouldn't fear death, nor should we fear what Esau can do. But our fear should be towards being found faithful by Yahweh Bashem Yahweh Shai. in those days. All right. Let me get this last precept and I'm gonna roll out. I'm gonna read the whole thing. So I'm gonna try to read through it quick, but I know brothers are familiar with this, but this is comforting. This is, something that we have to remember and be in this spirit like our ancient forefathers did. This is 2 Maccabees 6:1. It says, not long after this, the king sent an old man of Athens to compel the Jews to depart from the laws of their fathers. And that's ultimately what the hour of temptation is going to be about in this time. Esau trying to get the elect to depart from the law, statutes, and commandments and our faith in Yahweh Bashem Yahushai and bow down and worship him and take his mark and worship him as the Most High. You see? It says, compelled the Jews to depart from the laws of their fathers and not live after the laws of God, and to pollute also the temple in Jerusalem, and to call it the temple of Jupiter Olympius, and that in Gerizim of Jupiter, the defender of strangers, as they did desire that dwelt in that place. And remember, right now, Esau is trying to defile the spiritual temple, which is the elect, which is your body, which is the lively stones, the elect of the Most High, via this micro hip. And he knows that if he can put that microchip in you, man, that's it. You're finished. You're through. And we know the judgment for those that take that MOTB in Revelation, the 14th chapter. So he's ultimately trying to get you to defile yourself, you see, via that MOTB. It says the coming in of this mischief was sore and grievous to the people. And Esau's about to do this again when that enemy comes in like a great flood. Huge part of that is him trying to get our people to deny the law, statutes, and commandments and our faith in the Most High, and to deny our belief in the Lord. It says, for the temple was filled with riot and reveling by the Gentiles who dallied with harlots and had to do with women within the circuits of the holy places, and besides that brought in things that were not lawful. The altar also was filled with profane things which the law forbiddeth, which is kind of like how Esau is trying to get all of our people spiritually to worship the image of the beast. All of this wickedness, the do as thou wilt, the pedophilia, the transgenderism, not having no righteous moral standards, worshiping Satan, worshiping all of this wickedness. He's trying to do that even as we speak. And this is going to be a huge part of his new world order. You see? It says the altar was also filled with profane things which the law forbiddeth. Neither was it lawful for a man to keep Sabbath days or ancient feasts, or to profess himself at all to be a Jew. And he's going to do that also in this time. You think when all hell breaks loose and he's bringing in this new world order that we're going to be able to keep the Sabbath, honor the Sabbath, or to profess ourselves to be Hebrew Israelites? He's going to try to do away and outlaw and ban all of that shit, man. So he's going to try to do this all over again in this modernized time. You see? But just this time we don't have a physical temple where we represent spiritually that temple. We represent everything spiritually, what was physically being defiled here. It says, and in that day of the king's birth, every month they brought by bitter constraint to eat of the sacrifices. And when the fast of Bacchus was kept, the Jews were compelled to go in procession to Bacchus carrying ivy. Moreover, they went out a decree to the neighbor cities of the heathen by suggestion of Ptolemy against the Jews that they should observe the same fashions and be partakers of their sacrifices. You see, worship the image of the beast. You see? You ain't keeping no law, statutes, and commandments. You're not keeping the Sabbath. You're not going to celebrate you're not going to keep the Passover in this devil's new world order, in this new digital enslavement system. You're not even going to have the necessity or the ability to even buy the things necessary to keep that in his CBDC ran digital enslavement system. You think you're going to be able to go in this man's new world order with a Karag menu to go to the store somewhere and find a menorah and buy lamb? So you tell him so you can keep the Pesach? He'll lock your ass up and shut down your ability. He'll turn off your fucking microchip, man. He'll lock you up for thought. He'll deem you a thought criminal and lock you in prison, man, or make it to where you can't travel outside of your house. You'll pay the penalty for sure. You see. It says, and whoso would not conform themselves to the manner of the Gentiles should be put to death. You see. And he's going to do that ultimately for those of us who don't take that MOTB, who don't bow down to the image and worship, the beast and take his mark. It says, then might a man have seen the present misery. For there were two women. See, here's another example of some of our righteous sisters. It says, for there were two women brought who had circumcised their children, whom they had openly led around about the city. So they made a mockery of them. They carried them around the cities. They paraded them around as examples of what will happen to you if you continue to not worship the image of the beast and keep, and do what Esau commands you to do. Who they had openly led around about the city, the babe handing at their breast, they cast them down headlong from the wall. You see, they put the women to death and the children that were still practicing and openly worshiping Yahweh, Yahweh Bashem Yahweh Shai and keeping our customs. It says, and others that had run together in caves nearby to keep the Sabbath day secretly, being discovered by Philip, were all burnt together, because they made a conscience to help themselves for the honor of the most sacred day. You see, so you think he's gonna allow you to keep the Sabbath or the Pesach in his new world order? And you're not gonna be able to do anything secretly because you're gonna be marked, tagged, and monitored and watched. And even if you weren't keeping, had a RFID chip in you, man, if he caught you doing anything, because, you're going to have people that's not going to be chipped. You're going to have people still in this society running around and hiding in caves and moving around underground that's not going to be down with the system. But if they catch you doing things that they deem to be unlawful, they're going to put you to death. Like Elder Apostle Gabar said, either it can be a guillotine, it can be a firing squad. Oh, they're even talking about bringing back legislation to bring back ancient stoning. So it's going to be a whole lot of ways that he can punish you and destroy you for not worshiping him, and worshiping the Heavenly Father. So these particular individuals, they were all burnt, man. He burned them alive. It says, because they made a conscience to help themselves for the honor of the most sacred day. Now I beseech those that read this book that they be not discouraged for these calamities. Right. Don't be discouraged. Don't be discouraged, because we know that these times are coming, that Esau is going to come in just like this all over again in this time that we're in. So we can't be discouraged by things, because these individuals that died, they died for a righteous and honorable cause. And those works are going to follow in them, and they're going to be remembered by Yahweh Bashem Yahweh Shai, which is why their memory still exists in the book of Maccabees, and it was written for our learning. It says that they be not discouraged for these calamities, but that they judge those punishments not to be for destruction, but for a chastening of our nation, you see, because ultimately all that they could do was just put them to death, but they had no power to destroy their souls. It says, for it is a token of his great goodness when wicked doers are not suffered any long time, but forthwith punished. For not as with other nations, whom the Lord patiently forbeareth to punish, till they be come to the fullness of their sins, so dealeth he with us. Lest that being come to the height of sin, afterwards he should take vengeance of us, you see? Meaning when you die and you come back in your next life, the Lord's going to take vengeance on you, in that next life, which shows you that reincarnation is a real thing and it's scriptural. It says, and therefore he never withdraweth his mercy from us. See, so the mercy of the Lord is never going to withdraw for us, especially if we do the right thing, especially if we die honorably and righteously and zealously for the laws of the Most High. It says, and though he punish with adversary, yet he doth not forsake his people. But let this that we at spoken be for a warning unto us, and now will we come to the declaring of the matter in a few words. And here's the main point. It says, Eleazar, one of the principal scribes, an aged man and of a well-favored countenance, was constrained to open his mouth and to eat swine's flesh. But he, choosing rather to die gloriously than to live stained with such an abomination, spit it forth and came of his own accord to the torment. And that's the spirit we're going to have to be in when Esau presents that MOTB. We got to choose rather to die gloriously and as a martyr and violently for the names of Yahweh Bashem Yahweh Shai, and say he went to the torment. So whatever Esau has in store, however he's going to try to take us out, whatever fear tactics and death he has prepared for us, hey, it's glorious in the sight of Yahweh Bashem Yahweh Shai. Matter of fact, let me get this real quick.